For 85 minutes on Wednesday night in Atlanta, England was leading in a World Cup semifinal. They were minutes away from their first final since 1966. Minutes from the one thing an entire nation has craved through 60 years of heartbreak. Then, in the span of about 7 brutal minutes, it all blew up. What happened inside that stadium was less a soccer match than a bar fight with a scoreboard attached. By the time the final whistle blew, there were at least 3 completely different scandals for fans to scream about. So what the hell actually happened to England? Grab a seat because you're going to need one. Understand, first, that this was never going to be a normal game, because England and Argentina don't do normal. This is one of the deepest, nastiest rivalries in the entire sport, drenched in decades of bad blood and shadowed by the Falklands. The rivalry of Maradona's hand of God and Beckham's red card. And these two nations genuinely, deeply do not like each other on a soccer field. So when all that history collided with the electric Atlanta atmosphere, you got exactly what you'd expect. From the very first whistle, this was a war. And I mean that almost literally, because the first half was pure carnage. 19 fouls in 45 minutes. Argentina came out with their teeth bared, flying into tackles, hacking, niggling, and provoking, using every bit of the dark arts they've perfected over generations. In the third minute, Enzo Fernandez caught the back of Elliot Anderson's head with an elbow during a challenge, no card. Argentina relentlessly hunted England's midfielders all over the field. And here's the detail that tells you everything about how the referee handled things. The very first yellow card of the match didn't go to Argentina, it went to England's Anderson for a heavy foul on Messi. Referee Ismail El Fath kept his cards tucked firmly in his pocket, while Argentina turned a World Cup semi-final straight into a street brawl, and watching fans completely lost their minds on social media, which filled up in real time with English supporters raging that Argentina were somehow getting away with murder, claiming the officiating was blatantly one-sided, and there was no point in even having a referee. It was wild, it was thrilling. Honestly, it was fun to watch in a terrifying sort of way. But it was also unmistakably a referee losing control of a massive powder keg. And you know exactly why that set off alarm bells. Because this was the referee, this was Ismail El Fath. An American official. FIFA handed this game to this referee under whom Lionel Messi never lost a game, making it an appointment that had half the planet screaming rigged before a ball was even kicked. So when that very same referee let Argentina dominate and bully the game, booking England first, every single suspicion people carried into the stadium felt completely confirmed in that moment. And it wasn't just angry fans. England's former referee chief, Keith Hackett, watched it and said Ismail El Fath failed to stamp his authority on the match, pointing specifically at that unpunished tackle by Enzo and pointing out the ref's known reluctance to pull out yellow cards. The cruel irony? Enzo Fernandez, the guy who by all rights should have been booked and reined in early, went on to score the goal that changed everything. So let us be completely serious for a second, because this is where I need to be straight with you. Was this proof of a fix? Honestly, no. What we saw wasn't a referee cunningly setting up an Argentina win. It was just a weak referee getting swallowed alive by a chaotic, hate-filled match he was never strict enough to control. He was incredibly lenient in both directions across 19 first-half fouls, and that first card against England was, in fairness, a clear foul on Messi. There is no smoking gun here. But here is what matters. The real scandal is not El Fath's supposed bias. It is that FIFA took the most combustible, hostile, history-soaked fixture in the entire tournament and handed it over directly to a referee famous for being incredibly reluctant with his cards. You could easily see this coming a mile away. A firmer official books Enzo in minute 3, calms the whole thing down, and that street fight never ignites. FIFA basically set that stage, and it collapsed exactly the way anyone could have predicted. That failure is on the appointment, not just the man. Now, despite all of that chaos, England did what they came to Atlanta to do. They held their nerve against incredibly extreme Provocation hitting Argentina right where it really hurt. They ran at that shaky, error-prone Argentine defense using the incredible pace of Jude Bellingham, Anthony Gordon, and the excellent Jed Spence. In the 55th minute, it paid off beautifully. Morgan Rogers, on the field for this exact quality, whipped a perfect cross in from the right side, and Gordon arrived at the far post to finish it. 1-0 England. And for nearly half an hour, England were heading to the World Cup final. Everyone felt it. And then Thomas Tuchel made the fateful decision that is going to haunt English football for a very long time. Because from that winning position, with Argentina looking completely rattled and ragged, and completely there for the taking, Tuchel got scared. Late in the second half, he started pulling off attackers and throwing on defenders. He subbed off Anthony Gordon, the man who had just scored, immediately bringing on center-back Ezri Konsa. Then came Dan Burn and then Nico O'Reilly. He immediately shifted England into a back five, telling them to sit on the lead and defend their own box. And in doing so, he drained every single drop of counter-attacking pace from the team, leaving Harry Kane completely isolated and stranded up front. England, just 5 minutes from a World Cup final, just stopped playing. And those numbers are utterly damning. In the 37 minutes between Gordon's goal and the moment the wheels fell off, England had 12% of the ball. They managed just 3 shots after taking the lead, and absolutely nothing after the 78th minute. You cannot invite the most dangerous attacking team you have faced with Lionel Messi prowling the pitch to lay siege to your box for half an hour and expect to walk away untouched. It was clear tactical suicide, and the bitter part is that Tuchel had looked like a genius all tournament, right up to the second he did not. His in-game adjustments had miraculously rescued England against Congo, tamed the hostile bear pit of the Azteca against Mexico, and survived the Miami Heat against Norway. But this was a different beast entirely, and pulling off your goal scorer to bring on another defender against Messi is not game management, it is pure surrender. It was the exact trap that Gareth Southgate fell into time and again. That same conservatism saw England lead and lose the 2018 semi-final and the Euro 2020 final. England paid an 8-figure salary and moved heaven and earth to hire a Champions League-winning manager specifically to stop this from happening, hoping someone would finally be brave when the game demanded bravery. But when the moment came, he did what his predecessor did. Later, Tuchel got really defensive about the criticism. But the scoreboard and that 12% possession spoke louder than his excuses. You do not get brought in to make a difference, then coach exactly like the guy you replaced. Give Argentina huge credit here. They smelled blood and went straight for the jugular. This is where Lionel Scaloni outthought Tuchel completely. Meanwhile, the England manager was busy trying to protect his own goal. Scaloni was chasing the game, throwing on attackers, and crucially introducing Lautaro Martinez. Right in the 81st minute, Jordan Pickford was heroic, pulling off a string of world-class saves, an incredible reaction to deny Nico Gonzalez from heading it in on a shot destined for the net. McAllister rattled the woodwork not once, but twice, each narrow escape ratcheting the pressure higher, shouting that the dam was about to burst. At the absolute center of it all was Enzo Fernandez, who had been a major nuisance from the very start, hassling, hurrying, needling. Exactly the type of player you love on your side and hate playing against. It felt almost inevitable he would have a say. The pressure just kept building and building until, in the 85th minute, England botched a corner kick. Messi slipped the ball to Enzo right on the edge. And that very same Enzo, who probably should have been carded in the 3rd minute, absolutely hammered it right past Pickford. 1-1 chaos. Then in the 92nd minute, Messi did what only Messi can do, floating a pass with the outside of his boot toward the back post, where Lautaro Martinez rose to head it home. 2-1 Argentina. England, who had been just 90 seconds of stoppage time and 1 clean sheet away from the final, were finished. Scaloni summed up the moment perfectly later. There was blood in the water and we went for it. And that is the exact part that should terrify everyone else about this clinical Argentina squad. Now they have conceded first again, in 3 consecutive knockout games, and somehow won all 3 anyway. They fell behind against Cape Verde and won, went 2 goals down to Egypt and won. Trailing England with 5 minutes left, they won. That is not just luck, or at least not only luck. They have got a bottomless well of experience and total composure. A squad that simply refuses to believe they can lose, led by a Messi, who reads the biggest moments of a game better than anyone else alive. Whatever you think of the officiating, that helped them pull through. The comeback itself, those 2 goals, was pure quality. Messi created both. You can't blame the referee for those. Woven right through. The entire furious spectacle had a sharp personal edge. And it gave the internet its defining image of the night. Early on, Messi and Bellingham, 2 of the absolute best on earth, separated by a generation, went head-to-head in a tense standoff, which ended with Messi staring Bellingham down and giving a cold, dismissive little nod that immediately broke social media in half. Afterwards, Bellingham tried to downplay it, explaining it was just a dispute over a foul, that Messi had complained about a hard challenge, and that Bellingham had told him, "You are strong enough to take it." To his real credit, gutted as he clearly was, Bellingham refused to show any bitterness, calling it an absolute privilege to share the pitch with Messi. 2 eras of greatness colliding, and the veteran walked off toward yet another final. But here's the kicker. England fans really don't want to hear. And it's what makes this more than just a FIFA story or some refereeing drama. This was classic England being England. Look at the pattern, because it's brutal. In the entire 21st century, only twice has a team scored first in a World Cup semi-final and still managed to lose the game. Both times it was England. They led Croatia in the 2018 semi-final and lost. They led Italy in the Euro 2020 final and lost. Winning against the elite teams just does not happen. On the big stage, going home after losing to the highest-ranked team they faced in 7 of the last 8 World Cups. Thomas Tuchel was brought in specifically to shatter that glass ceiling, and instead he walked his squad right into it. Outcoached at the decisive moment by Scaloni, who now sits 1 win away from becoming only the 2nd coach in history to lift 2 World Cups. Even Tuchel owned up to the collapse for what it was, admitting his team simply stopped winning individual battles. That is the brutal truth. England did not lose because of the ref. They lost because when the biggest moment of their generation finally arrived, they crawled into their shell, just like they always do. And then there is the exhaustion that nobody in the squad can hide from because they brought it on themselves. This was a group that had already been dragged through the thin air of the Azteca cauldron against Mexico and the sweltering extra-time slugfest against Norway in Miami, a roster full of players who ran themselves ragged in Europe all year, and then faced the most brutal schedule of any team in the Final Four. They even chose Kansas City for their base, instead of staying near their venues, adding endless travel to the mix. By the time Argentina started coming at them in waves, England had absolutely nothing left in the tank. No legs to press, no power to counter. But make no mistake, tiredness only explains so much. The deeper issue is the one that has haunted England for decades. That inability to control big games through the midfield, and a mentality that just locks up the second a trophy comes into view. Andrea Pirlo did it to them in 2014. Luka Modric did it in 2018. Spain did it during the last Euros. And now Messi and Enzo just did it in Atlanta. Different faces, same painful story, over and over. So that is where everything leaves us now. And it is uncomfortable, no matter how you look at it. FIFA clearly wanted Messi and Argentina in the final. And Messi and Argentina are right there in it. You can absolutely point to the lenient refereeing that let Argentina turn the match into a brawl. You can point to an appointment that nobody trusted from the second it was announced. Those facts are very real, and they absolutely deserve to be discussed. But the harsh, more honest truth is that England threw this game away. Tuchel's fear handed Argentina the momentum on a silver platter. And Argentina had the quality, the deep composure, and the sheer ice-cold nerve to punish them, fueled by the genius of Lionel Messi alone. The conspiracy version of this story says FIFA scripted the ending. The more realistic view says FIFA set a shaky, volatile stage, and England lost their nerve collapsing right on it. And Argentina were simply the better, braver team when everything was on the line. And the frustrating part is that both of those roads lead to the same destination. That destination is Sunday at MetLife, where a 39-year-old Lionel Messi stands just one game away from soccer immortality against a brilliant Spanish side. Right in Spain, remember. This is no fairy tale opponent waiting to be swept aside. They are the reigning European champions, unbeaten in 37 matches, and judging by how absolutely ruthlessly they dismantled France in the other semifinal, easily the most cohesive, disciplined team left standing, and the rightful favorites to win. If Argentina really has been getting a helping hand all tournament, they're going to need it more than ever. Because Spain is a different class of problem entirely. Whether Messi got here through pure magic, through rival mismanagement, or because of a whistle that stayed silent way too long, in a first half that never should have been allowed to escalate into a chaotic knife fight, the simple fact remains he got there. And England, so agonizingly close once again, must pack up for a pointless third-place playoff against France and settle back into that one thing that always feels familiar, the wait. 62 years of hurt and counting. Was England robbed by the referee, betrayed by their manager, or simply beaten by the better team on the night? I've got my answer, but I want to hear yours. So drop your thoughts in the comments and stick around, because that Argentina versus Spain final is shaping up to be an absolute monster.